Hey everyone, I'm back from my small break. It was nice taking some time off from editing videos, but we're back and today we're talking about Marth and Lucina, the first actually unique Echo Fighters to be covered to date. As you probably know, Echo Fighters are usually pretty similar, and some don't even have any differences at all in terms of gameplay. Lucina and Marth, however, are quite different though, so why don't we just get right into it. If you want to support me and what I do, I have a Patreon where you can vote on characters I'll be covering next. As usual, if there's a character you want me to cover, let me know in the comments. And as always, the visuals are made by Zeckemyro. Now, like I said, Marth and Lucina are actually quite different. However, in terms of hitboxes, they are all mostly identical. The size and positioning is the same for a decent amount of the moves, with some exceptions. The main difference, however, is the properties of the hitboxes. As you probably know, the whole character design around Marth is that his tip of his sword is stronger, incentivizing you to always try to space your moves at max range. Lucina, however, is made to have equal damage across all the hitboxes, and will deal the same damage regardless of what hitboxes connect. We'll see this once we actually get into the hitboxes. But what they basically did is that when they made Lucina, they just took all of Marth's hitboxes and removed the tipper, and adjusted the hitboxes to be the same. In this sense, they are all very similar. However, at some points during Ultimate, they did actually adjust some of Marth's hitboxes, so we'll be seeing a little bit of that. Also, just to mention this, since a lot of people have been talking about it before, barring the few changes that were made to Marth's hitboxes in later patches, the hitboxes are identical to the way they were in Smash 4. The tippers were not made harder to hit in Ultimate, and in fact, because of the patches, they're now easier to hit than ever. Just wanted to get that out of the way, but anyways, let's actually get into the hitboxes. For jab, we once again have a fairly unique jab, and another sad victim of the heavy nerfs that jabs got from Smash 4. In Smash 4, you could do all sorts of setups with jab into other moves, so that was pretty fun. In this game, it still has 3 hitboxes that stun your opponent. This goes for both characters. Obviously, if you hit the tipper with Marth, it does more damage, but it's not required for comboing into the second hit, which is once again just a swing with the sword, knocking the opponent back. Next up for F-tilt, we have another case of hitboxes being identical. It's a pretty simple slash with a sword out in front. It's got 3 hitboxes. In this case of Marth, as mentioned, the tipper is worth extra points, so to say. The move is pretty solid and fairly safe if spaced well. It's got good reach and kill power, granted you can get the tipper in case of Marth. To put into perspective the discrepancy of the tipper versus Lucina's normal hitboxes, Marth's non-tipper hitboxes here deal 9 damage, have 70 knockback growth and 30 base knockback. Lucina's hitboxes all deal 11%, have 74 knockback growth and 42 base knockback, while Marth's tipper deals 12 damage with 85 knockback growth and 55 base knockback. It might not sound like a lot, but the damage and knockback really does make a huge difference. This damage ratio is pretty much the same between all of Marth's and Lucina's hitboxes, with Lucina's hitboxes generally falling right in the middle between the damage of Marth's sour spots and sweet spots. Knockback wise it varies a bit, but generally it's just the average of the sour spots and the sweet spots combined. So yeah, just to put that into perspective a bit. It makes Marth have a way higher potential ceiling if you can space his moves well. However, the punishment for messing up is way harsher than with Lucina. For down tilt, we actually have our first difference between the hitboxes here. It's not anything huge, but it's notable at least. Down tilt is a sword poke at the ground, and consists of 2 hitboxes. For Lucina, it looks like this, and up until patch 12.0, it actually used to be the same for Marth as well. However, in that patch, they decided to make the tipper hitbox a little bit bigger, removing some of the sour spots closer to Marth, and replacing them with more sweet spot. However, the range of the move remains the same. It just makes the tipper more reliable. Aside from that, the move is pretty simple. Nothing to say about it, really. Looks like we didn't have to wait too long before we got another move that is different. Once again, the difference is minuscule, but worth mentioning, of course. Marth and Lucina do a sword swing up in the air, covering a large amount of area over the course of a few frames. The move initially has 6 hitboxes, and with Marth, it's actually a rare case of having hitboxes with 2 different sour spots and the tipper. The light blue and green parts are the tipper here. The weakest parts are the purple on top, while the orange and red are slightly stronger, but still a sour spot compared to the tipper, of course. In the case of Lucina, the hitboxes are all the same, so that's nice. Saves me a bit of thinking. On the next few frames, the sword arches all the way from in front to behind Lucina and Marth. In the case of Lucina, the later hits of the move are actually stronger than the earlier ones, so if you can hit an opponent behind you, it is actually stronger. As a part of the previously mentioned patch, Marth's second sour spot was moved a bit back to make the sweet spot have more range. However, once again, it was just that, so effectively they still have the same range. It's a pretty solid move just looking at the hitboxes. However, it can be a little tricky to get off, and especially if you need to hit the tipper in case of Marth. But the hitboxes are solid here, there's no doubt about that. For a dash dagger, we once again have the same case of the tipper being given some more room to breathe. This move is honestly, like, really bad. And I kinda get why they made it bad. Like, Marth is supposed to be a zoner and all, so making it have a really good dash attack would be a little weird. Didn't stop them from giving Snake one, though, but I digress. It's just so slow and not even worth hitting half the time. The hitboxes look like this, there are 3 of them. Again, like I said, the sour spots are moved a little in case of Marth, but it doesn't make a huge difference. Despite looking fairly respectable hitbox-wise, with the later frames having some pretty huge hitboxes that last for a while. Its startup and lag make it ill-advised to go for it in most situations. Even for Lucina, you just always kind of have better options. But at least the move is like actually even worth it to land if you miss your spacing. It's not great, but I guess not every move needs to be. As far as grabs go, there's not really a lot to be said. The grab ranges are the same for the two characters in every scenario, and the throws are identical as well, and none of them are too remarkable either, besides the up throw, which can KO at very late percentages. But aside from that, it's nothing crazy. There's at least one notable thing, and that is that the dash grab was actually changed early on, because it was actually unable to grab certain characters like Rob, because the grounded hitbox was too small, meaning the character's pushback would make the grab unable to connect. It used to look like this, and now it looks like this, if you're wondering. Just a little fact that I thought was interesting. So neutral air is a bit of a weird move. Initially it has 3 hitboxes on the sword. These hitboxes attempt to stun you in place so you can lead into the second part of the move. On the second frame of the move, the sword is deep in the Z-axis. However, keep in mind that the hitboxes do interpolate, meaning that the hitboxes still technically cover in front of Marth on this frame. After this, they do a twirl in the air, spinning around while the sword has active frames. The hitboxes here are the same, by the way, for both characters, barring the tipper on Marth once again. The move can be a little bit inconsistent with it being a multi-hit aerial that relies on a single hit to stun you, especially on Marth where the amount of hit stun can vary because of the non-tipper hitboxes. It's a good zoning tool though, and quite safe when spaced well. Now for forward air, we have another fairly simple move. It's just a swing downwards in front of the falchion wielders. While being pretty standard, the move is actually very strong. It's fast and can really put you in a bad spot if you're close to the ledge. Once again, Marth had his sour spot changed a bit on the move, making it easier to hit the sweet spot, but overall it's really just the same for both characters. Back air is another sword swing, another of many it seems. This time it's behind them, and it covers a similar arc just in the other direction. Again, Marth has the adjusted hitbox here, though overall I do think Lucina kinda gets the better deal here, with Marth really needing to get the tipper to get the KO, whereas Lucina just really needs to hit it at all. The hitboxes linger for a surprisingly long time. It just kinda hangs out for a few frames after the actual swing. This move is one of the few moves in the game that actually turn you around in the air after you've used it, meaning you can only do a single back air in one direction without turning around again. But in most cases, a forward air will do the trick as well, so it's not like it's a huge deal. It's a solid move and pretty strong. Up air is much the same style as the previous aerials, this time being the original overhead sword swing so many characters later would use. And once again, Marth has the adjusted hitbox. The move reaches really far below them before it starts to swing, meaning you can actually hit people right in front of you with it. However, on the other side of the coin, it does end a bit early, and it might be difficult to hit people on the other side. It's a good move with a solid disjoint, and you can even land with it to create some custom combos. Now, down air is a little bit weird in how it's made. It's one of the few moves that actually don't follow the tipper sweet spot formula that the rest of Marth's aerials use. Well, in one sense it still does. The move has 3 hitboxes initially. On these frames the angles vary quite a bit. The tipper is still stronger, but does not spike at any point during the move. The middle sour spot launches up, while the closest sour spot launches in the same direction as the tipper. So instead of making the tipper spike on this move, instead a single frame of a spiking hitbox appears on the sword right below Marth. The odd thing here though is that the hitbox is actually not big enough to cover the entirety of the other hitboxes. So despite this hitbox being the dominant one, there's a small chance you'll just miss the spike by spacing it too well, which is very stupid to say the least. Lucina has the exact same hitbox in this case, having the same issue with the hitbox on the spike, but in any case, as long as you don't hit the part that launches them up, it's going to be pretty hard to recover from getting hit by this off stage. It's a bit slow, and oftentimes there are moves that are better, but hey, who can resist the allure of a spike? Now moving on to their specials, we have Dolphin Slash, which is one of the few moves that actually don't follow the tipper sweet spot style at all. In fact, this move is actually completely identical for both Lucina and Marth. It's a rising slash into the air, and the move is actually really fast, being by far the fastest out of shield option they have. In addition to that, the move has full body intangibility on frame 4 to 6 when used on the ground, and intangibility on frame 1 to 5 when used in the air, making it hard to intercept and even better as a combo breaker option. It starts out having 2 hitboxes in front of Marth, which launch you back. The second frame has 4 hitboxes, where the top hitboxes are the sour spots, and the lower hitboxes are the stronger ones. After this, it only has sour spots, as the hitboxes trace the sword into the air. Pretty good move overall. It serves you well both as a good recovery option and reversal option. Okay, so next up is Dancing Blade, and this move has like a ton of hitboxes. Dancing Blade has 3 variants for how you can use it. You can do up, neutral, or down Dancing Blade, all of which have different hitboxes. The first hit is always the same, and after that you can choose to input an angle. Keep in mind that this move does still use the tipper for Marth, but the damage difference does not really make a huge difference, and the move is not really made for you to hit the tipper on every move either, just as long as the final hit tipper is your good most of the time. The first hit has 3 hitboxes. The tipper is the purple hitbox, which is quite tricky to hit since it's mostly obscured by the red hitbox. But to keep doing the neutral, it has these hitboxes on the next hit. These ones are a bit more generous, and again these just stun you to set up into more hits later. Third hit looks like this, it's pretty much the same as the other ones. Finally there's the launcher hit, which once again has a pretty small area for the tipper, making it tricky to land. However, should you land it, it's pretty strong and can steal stocks really early. For Lucina, it's the same, just all the hitboxes are actually good to land. Should you do the up version, the first hit looks like this. It has more vertical range and launches you up instead of to the side. Again, the tipper is still here in front. Next hit is almost identical and launches you up again. The last hit has 4 hitboxes, where the 2 other hitboxes are the tippers. A rare case of Marth's moves having 2 tipper hitboxes. Lucina's hitboxes are once again the same, just without the tippers. Finally, the down version has this hitbox. This variant actually has the same second hit as the neutral version, so the first hit downwards is actually the third in the sequence. It's 2 hitboxes, the tipper and the sour spot, which knocks you back a bit. The final hit is a flurry of stabs with 3 hitboxes. And here the tipper is actually given some good range, making it able to deal quite a bit of damage. Down B is the counter, and I mean the counter. The first one of what ended up being a lot of characters with counters. Now, despite seemingly looking almost the same, between the 2 characters, the counters are actually a little different. First off, the detection hitbox is changed, and covers more behind Lucina than Marth, while Marth's cover more in the front. On the actual counter hit, the hitboxes are also notably different. Marth's counter actually reaches a lot further than Lucina's. This is also another move that does not use the tipper, meaning any hitbox will be equally effective. Next up is the Shield Breaker, which, as the move implies, is a move with a ton of shield damage. This is another case where there is a hitbox difference. Most notably here, Marth's just has a lot more range, because he leans much farther forward than Lucina, effectively giving it more range. In the case of both characters, they have 4 hitboxes, and you may notice a small hitbox that are overlaid here. This is actually part of a very strange and kinda unique mechanic. These small hitboxes are only active if they hit a character's head hurt box, in which the move will deal additional damage and knockback. Needless to say, it does not come up too often. However, since you can angle the move, it's not as impossible as it might seem. The move deals an additional 25 shield damage, when released with anything less than a full charge. It doesn't charge up exponentially. Keep in mind the extra shield damage is present on every hitbox, not just a tipper. On the full charge, Marth once again has more range than Lucina, and compared to the not full charge version, the hitboxes are actually slightly smaller on the full charge. The full charge deals a whopping 50 extra shield damage, being more than enough to obliterate any shield. The extra shield damage is the same for both characters, by the way. It's a pretty solid mix-up for shield-happy opponents, with a huge reward on a good read. For our final moves of the day, we have smash attacks, starting with up smash. This move is pretty strange. On the surface you would imagine it's purely an anti-air up smash, but looking at the hitboxes, it actually does cover a huge amount of area below Marth and Lucina. On both characters, this hitbox is by far the weakest, though it can combo into the stronger sword hits. In Lucina's case, the sword hitboxes are the same, while Marth has the tipper and a few weaker hitboxes below it. It's a pretty decent up smash, but in Marth's case it's pretty weak unless you can get the tipper. F smash is a very straightforward smash attack. Marth and Lucina swing their sword at the ground, and it has 4 hitboxes. In Marth's case, the tipper is in the usual position, while the 3 other hitboxes are notably weaker. However, in this case, the tipper really is incredibly powerful, and can catch some stocks really early on if your spacing is correct. Lucina's is exactly the same, but again, just kind of evened out. Here you can also see the hitboxes interpolated if that should interest you, properly demonstrating the amount of area the hitboxes cover between the active frames. Both make for pretty good F smashes, but most of the time Lucina's has a lot more use, I feel. It just makes better use of the range, and can be applied to a lot more situations, where you don't have access to proper spacing or don't have time to. Lastly, we're going out on a bit of a low note, because it's time for down smash. The move has 3 hitboxes, and despite the first hit coming out very quickly, and having a lot of range relatively speaking, the move is just very long in duration, seeing how it also hits behind Marth, and on top of that, it has a decent amount of lag. It can be good if you're sure you're going to get the first hit, however, if you miss, you're in for a big punish. Anyways, that's going to do it. Fun fact actually, but Marth was actually going to be the last Smash 4 hitboxes I looked at before Ultimate came out. However, I just did not get around to finishing it before it released. So I am in one sense glad that I got to wrap that up now, even though the whole process is pretty different these days. Marth finds himself in a pretty bad spot in Ultimate, seemingly being worse than Lucina in many ways. The faster pace of Ultimate lends itself better to a character like Lucina, it seems. However, I do feel like Marth is a little bit underrated and in many ways a little underplayed. Maybe we'll see a Marth player rise to the challenge of proving his might, but that'll probably not be anytime soon, I would imagine. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.